Hello, and welcome back to COM 252. Research shows that people who are poor senders and receivers of emotions are more likely to have problems in their relationships. Many times, emotions can be maladaptive, which means that they can get in the way of you accomplishing your goals. For example, many healthcare workers use maladaptive coping strategies like making fun of patients to deal with the stress of their work. However, emotions may be adaptive and help you to adjust appropriately to situations. Emotional communication is at the heart of emotional intelligence, which is a huge buzzword in today's job market. Today's companies want people with high emotional intelligence. In this video, I will discuss strategies that will help you to develop greater emotional communication competence so that you will be more successful in both your professional and personal relationships. Developing a greater emotional understanding means developing a self-awareness of your own emotions. Sometimes, especially with intense emotions, it's really tough to think things through. But in those moments, try and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What made me feel this way? What exactly do I want to communicate? And also, what are my communication choices? How can I achieve my goal in an ethical way? Emotional expressions are very difficult. In the past, I would bottle up the emotions I was feeling because in my family, we just didn't talk about things like that. This strategy caused a lot of issues in my relationships. I've spent years working on how to effectively express my feelings in the right way at the right time. Here are a few strategies that Devito describes to help you with your own emotional expression. First, be specific about the emotions you are experiencing. Refer to Table 7.3 in your text for specific ways to describe mixed emotions. Next, describe why you are feeling the way that you do. Be sure to include a description of influences your conversational partner may have had on your feelings using behavioral language. Also, be sure to address any mixed feelings you are experiencing, especially if you believe it will help your conversational partner to understand you better. Make sure that you're anchoring your emotions, either internal or external, in the present. This will help you to avoid any static evaluations of yourself and others. Ask yourself, what do I want from my listener? Do you want them to just listen? Do you need advice? Use I messages to ask for what you want. Everyone has a different tolerance for communication about emotions or communicating during emotional events. You can watch for nonverbal cues that signal the emotional boundaries of others and ask things like, would you rather change the subject? Or would you rather discuss this at a later time? Finally, make sure to take responsibility for your own feelings. Own your feelings by using I messages instead of you messages, which blames another person for the emotion that you are experiencing. For example, instead of saying, "Ugh, you make me so angry," you could say, "I get angry when you come home late without calling." This way, you avoid blaming the other person, and also you describe an observable behavior. Expressing your own feelings is only half the process in emotional communication. Emotional responding, or listening and responding to the emotions of others, is also important for your emotional competence. Here are a few guidelines for making the process easier. First, look for nonverbal cues from the speaker. Does their verbal message match their nonverbal one? Do they say, "I'm fine," while expressing facial sadness? Nonverbal messages can be important clues for helping you to effectively respond. Next, look for cues about your role as a listener. Does it seem like the person just needs a shoulder to cry on? Or are they looking for your advice? Pro tip: much of the research on advice messages show us that unsolicited advice is often not perceived as helpful at all. Next, use active listening techniques. Be sure to paraphrase the speaker, express understanding, and ask questions where appropriate. This next one is so important. Empathy. As Andy Luttrell said in his video about fundamental attribution error, situations are invisible. Being able to put yourself in another's shoes is key for developing emotional intelligence. Don't evaluate what the other person is feeling. Be confirming and listen to the message, even if you disagree. Be sure to watch the video, The Importance of Empathy, in this week's module. Next, be sure to focus on the other person. While you may think interjecting with your own experiences is helpful, it refocuses the conversation on you rather than the speaker. It is often more helpful to listen and ask questions. In my own research, I've had to listen to participants talk about things that I disagreed with, or my experiences were just completely different from theirs. I didn't want to say I agree or I understand. It just didn't seem appropriate or ethical. One tactic that I found helpful is saying, "That makes sense," when listening to others. That way, you're being confirming and understanding without agreeing or pretending that you understand. Finally, remember that communication is irreversible, one of those fundamental principles of communication. You will never be able to take back an insensitive or disconfirming response. Be sure to practice mindfulness and avoid inappropriate responding. Make sure you check out all the videos in this week's module, as each has very important concepts about emotion that coincides with your texts. I'll see y'all next time.